The event's already left the server and I'm only telling you that it's good enough to read now. Anyway, to distract you from that, which King Yaoi? Definitely wasn't expecting this event, but it's there. But in serious news, what's this musical extravaganza about? Serving as a sequel to quite a few events, specifically Hortus de Escapismo and Lingering Echoes. Twin Spires, cause I'm not calling this Zwillingstürme in Herbst any more times than I have to, is pretty good. Unfortunately, when compared to the previous longest event, Lone Trail, it doesn't quite live up to that level of quality. But considering the insane peak that is Lone Trail, that doesn't mean Twin Spires is bad. It's primarily character focused, so there isn't a big focus on the climactic battle at the end of it. And despite not being as insane on the lore drops as Lone Trail was, you shouldn't misunderstand. Twin Spires lore goes kinda crazy. Extra bits of Sorka's lore in the form of the Liches, the lore surrounding the Golden Order of Litania, but the main one that I would say is the big focus is the existence of the Warp. Yes, the Warp. The Witch King himself has created an entire pocket dimension inside the void around Terra in order to store his consciousness. It goes kinda crazy. Also, homunculuses exist. That's what the Twin Empresses are. It's kind of just brushed over, but I'll wrap back around to it in a little bit when I discuss the Twin Empresses as characters. Also, the Witch King, low-key, the Emperor on the Golden Throne, preventing endless hordes of demons from invading Terra. Well, I mean, as long as you're not looking at Sammy, but you know, Sammy's already a lost cause, so preventing the heartland of Terra from being overridden by demons is a pretty solid thing to do. So what's going on in the story? Well, it's pretty simple in terms of what's actually happening. Getting Honkai Impact 3 Sea of Quanta flashbacks when listening to them explaining the void, but it's pretty simple in terms of the actual events that occur. So let's just run through it very quickly. All of our central characters arrive in Zwillingstürme, and our POV characters Ebonholz, Executor, and Viviana work to prevent the Witch King remnants from ruining the Twin Empresses' celebration and reviving the Witch King. Arturia is not doing this. She's actually doing the opposite. She's helping the Witch King remnants revive the Witch King for her own goals. Ebonholz quickly runs into the remnants, and after a quick struggle, he ends up at Ludwig's University. Here, all our characters are finally roughly in one place, and the Witch King makes their presence known as the Genesis Tower appears. However, this is only a brief showcase of the main event, and on the day of the Empress's celebration, the remnants' plan comes into full effect, and the Genesis Tower descends properly, opening a warp rift and rendering any of our non-main characters useless. Anyway, our lovable gang of heroes enter the warp to defeat the Witch King. All of them have their own little character-related developments before the Twin Empresses body the fraud known as the Witch King, and the day is saved. Well, except Hilgard. She gets the short end of the stick, but let's move on. Now, I've mentioned it's a very character-focused event, so I should probably give us a quick run-through the who's who, and what makes the story what it is, cause if you don't like the characters, you're not gonna like the event. Starting off with our depressed musical goat Ebonholz, arriving from Lingering Echoes. This story serves as a conclusion to his character arc with the Witch King, his return to Litania being met with quite a lot of pain and suffering, with him being haunted by the Witch King's remnants, and somewhat harassed by the Empress's people, primarily Fremont, not necessarily out of malice, as Fremont saves him from the voice of the Witch King, but it's still quite a bit of a turmoil-filled situation for Ebonholz. Ebonholz also gets closure from the Witch King himself after invading his domain, where the Witch King, despite the name, helps him overcome his misplaced anger, allowing Ebonholz to move on and take his place as Graf Franz at the end of the event, alongside his companion and our welfare unit Lessing. Can't say he's the greatest welfare unit ever introduced in Arknights, but his role was quite good. However, he serves entirely as a supporting character for Ebonholz, so if you don't like Ebonholz, I don't understand how, Lessing's not gonna be a very interesting character for you. Moving on to two other characters that are very closely related to each other, Executor and Baseline. Executor returns from his Hortus adventures to be the autistic king he is, and is aided by Wolf by Baseline in his efforts to track down Arturia. Being primarily a supporting character despite having a fairly interesting role in the story, if any bloat exists in the finale, it's cause they kept him around. And similarly to Lessing, our banner 5-star, baseline primarily supports Executor's character. I don't think he's bad, but if he wanted to lower the length of the event, he could have been cut out. I did though really enjoy his relationship with Hildegard. It was extremely wholesome. Viviana Drost is the beating heart of Twin Spires. Her journey, in my opinion, is the most compelling that the event has. The event starts off with the death of her father, and her family struggle continues as a constant throughout the event, with what is essentially her foster parents, Cora and Brent, suffering alongside her throughout the events of Twin Spire. Viviana, through Artoria's arts, comes to question the entire direction of her life, from her life as a noble to her time as a Casimir's knight. Her journey eventually forces her to even take the life of Cora, as Cora had been working with the Witch King remnants. And despite her best efforts, she is not able to save Cora from this path. While trapped within the Witch King's domain, Viviana goes through quite the mental ordeal, being shown countless different realities where her parents stayed together. And in each and every one of them, her life eventually falls apart. Eventually, Viviana is almost consumed by the encroaching darkness of the Void, but luckily grasps hold of a Null family sword spear, and even if only temporarily, is as radiant as the sun, allowing her to safely return to the real world and escaping the torment that the Void placed on her. At the end of the event, Viviana is still in quite the emotional place. She has luckily managed to move past some of her trauma, but it's still going to be an uphill battle for her as she tries to find her place in the world. Artoria, or Virtuosa as Rhodes Island has decided to call her, finally has a major role to play in an event. I'm sure she's back to be the good protagonist we all need during these dire times. She's working with the Witch King's remnants, she's making University a noticeably worse place to be, she's ensuring the Warp Rift opens above Latania. Girl's busy, that's for sure. Her main goal this event is to get an answer about her worldview from the Witch King. Is her ideal world of emotions leading humanity's way the right path, despite herself having no place in that world? Well, the Witch King has no answer for her. Well, he does, but doesn't think Artoria deserves to hear it. He simply allows her to witness his final moments in his battle against the Twin Empresses. Following this, Artoria does have a brief flash of inspiration and returns from the Void in order to use her music to restore the emotions of all those affected by the opening of this Void, temporarily achieving the emotions she so sought and no longer being a mirror. And at the end of the event, she is luckily freed from Latania by the efforts of our glorious Pope. So she's not being executed quite yet. There are three final characters I want to talk about quickly though. The Twin Empresses, Hildegard and Lisolet, and the Witch King. He has a name, but I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this. I don't even think it's an actual German word. The Twin Empresses have a great dynamic, playing off each other fantastically. Lisolet is the light side of their rule, and Hildegard is the dark side. Both rule the country of Latania with a gentle but firm grip, being homunculi born from the arts of the Witch King and the Liches, specifically Fremont, and a random Latanian noble who is irrelevant. And thus, the Witch King Old Man Yaoi Lovechild is actually real and canon. And speaking of the Witch King, this marks his first actual appearance in an event. Well, it is technically just a shadow of his former self, but it is not some form of possession or some form of distortion like what appeared in Lingering Echoes. The Witch King clings to life within his own domain within the Void, holding back the tides of demons encroaching on reality. We get to see quite the fascinating individual in the Witch King, one who's very introspective and understanding, wise far beyond his years, but cruel and punishing. Despite being able to console Artoria and Ebenholz, he undeniably holds to the evil he committed during his rule. But despite that, he welcomes the rule of those who usurped him, holding the Twin Empresses in extremely high regard, to the point where, following his defeat at their hands for a second time, he entrusts to the Twin Empresses the safety of Latania, both in reality and in the Void, with Lisolet returning to reality as the sole Empress, while Hildegard remains in the Void to hold the demons of the Void at bay for as long as she possibly can. And both Empresses, knowing that they surpass the Witch King, believe that they can do this indefinitely. And that's about it. Twin Spires. Very much enjoy the character focus in this event, but it does lead to the yappening. There is a serious level of yap in this chapter. My god, Calcit, perhaps I treated you too harshly listening to Viviana and Otoria go on and on. Now that is me having fun at Calcit's expense, I will admit, but it might be a serious turnoff for you. And if that is the case, I would like to hear about it down below. Y'all, be good people, let me know what you think of this event, and I will see you in the next one. Hildegard, I know you currently are stuck in the warp, holding off demons for all time, but I need you to take a break for 5 minutes to step on me.